I think we could all, I know it's very generic, but I think we could all be kinder and easier to one another. This past year, 2 years, 9 months of being pregnant and 13 months of a D Earthside has made me endure so many mini and mighty revolutions and changing and adjusting that's painful but needed. And I can only imagine how many other people are fighting battles or just trying to get through. And it's just like, I just wish we were just kinder.
So we're gonna jump in. So I don't want to take too much of your time, but also side note, congratulations on your wedding.
I was like, what happened? Yeah, that was like 6 months ago. It's crazy that time has flown by that quickly.
You're newlyweds still, technically.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So first question, what is your race and ethnicity?
Oh, I'm Black. I am first gen, and my family is from West Africa, Sierra Leone, and I very much am attached to being both West African, but also understanding I was born in America.
Okay. What are your passions and works as a creative?
Oh, there's so many things that keep me up at night, but also things that come really easily. I guess my goals are just always to combine like community, creativity, and culture in like a very meaningful and memorable way. So thinking about like spaces, accessibility, who has access to certain spaces, designing beautiful moments. Um, yeah, so those are my things.
So I saw that you do how I want to know like how did Mamas Who Create come to be?
Yeah, Mamas Who Dream became a thing.
I'm so is it Mamas Who Dream?
Yeah, Mamas Who Dream, MWD. That's
Great, my bad. So yeah, so how did Mamas Who Dream come to be? It's my bad.
it's already crazy that we spoke, I guess maybe almost 2 years ago. Because I think Adi was one. But after Adi was born, she was born at the height of COVID, and like I felt very kind of like lonely, and most of the mom community I had was digital or just like a different way of parenting than what I imagined. And I was just connecting with so many people online who were like single mothers, Black mothers, creative mothers, grad school moms, don't have no money moms, love nature moms. And I was like, how can I get all these people together and these different perspectives? And, despite the constraints, I felt like these moms were like trying their best and living just really joyful lives. And I was like, well, what would it look like for the people doing some amazing and hard and incredibly mentally and emotionally taxing work to come together for respite? Okay, so then I started looking at retreats and they were going for like $3,000, and most of them were like white yoga women. And I was like, what would it look like to change the narrative? So I just like planned it and I just made it happen. And I talked to many brands and asked them if they would, financially belly up. So it could be sliding scale. So the retreats range in pricing, like inclusive pricing from like 500 to 1800. And there's no like tax documentation or application necessary. It's just like pay what you can. Um, I'm not going to ask you questions, and let's all gather. So the first one was in the Catskills, and we had about 20 moms come out. I've already planned the one in Mexico, and that's going to be about 28 moms, and we have one pending in Maine. And the next leg of Moms Who Dream is to now start offering some programming, which I have in the works in like across various cities. And that's just like come get a glimpse of what the retreats are like, but also some people can't financially or scheduling or organizationally wise afford an extended retreat. So it's a way of bringing something like smaller to them.
I think one of the really cool things about being creative and like what I've seen from what you do is that when it comes to being creative, you have to carve out your own path. It's not
Mhm.
like something that's clearly like, okay, you do A, B, C, D, you get here. So for you and like your career and your creative process, what have been like the tentpole moments you would say that have moved you creatively, but also just like business wise? What are the decisions and the things that have gotten you to the place you're at now that you're continually like building on?
I think um someone said to me, and like it's something I will like always just remember, that the riches are in the niches. And I say that to say that what I'm doing is not for everyone. It's for a very specific group of people. And I also heard that a lot of, I don't consider like Mamas Who Dream a large business. It's very small. I do all of the social media, all of the invoicing, all of, it's me, every single thing. No one else does it. So at some points I'm talking to like 50 to 100 people. And something someone else said is that most businesses fail because like people are not experts in the field that they start the business in. So I say this all to say that like I don't consider Mamas Who Dream like this large business, but I say that to say that I'm an expert in the field of being a mom, of being creative, of being a woman of color, of being someone who likes to explore. So it's a heavy lift producing such things, but it's also not a heavy lift because I'm incredibly good at it. So I think what keeps me going is remembering who I'm doing it for, and remembering that like if I weren't a customer or someone signing up, what would I want? I would want communication. I would want to be thought of. I would want if you shared. I would want if I shared my birthday was during the retreat that you decorate my tent. Like I try to just think like, what would I want, and try to provide those details, because in the end, all people want, regardless of who they're interacting with, whether it be Starbucks or someone on DM, is just like to be seen and to be noticed and to feel like they're cared for. And I think with the population that I work with, sometimes that doesn't always seem to be the case. So, like, if I can make that happen, that is my goal.
So you've been a creative for many years before. What's wrong?
I still don't even like sometimes call myself that. It's very stressful, but I
Why?
am like, it's just like, I'm like, I don't paint. I'm not a photographer. I don't do things with my, I don't do
But
clay.
you're like a
But
model. You're a model. You're a
I
storyteller.
know, I know. They don't ever let models have residencies. I want to talk about that.
Well, I was about to dip back to because it's like mamas who dream. Why did I say mamas who create? I think because in the description it says something about creating.
Yeah.
My apologies again for that. That's like embarrassing. But I think like right. So like when I met you, like it was like the first year of your baby's life. And so, but even before that, I had already seen you because I saw your modeling, I saw your photographer. Well, if you don't take, but it's just like you're a model, you were a storyteller, like you were creating a brand and like a lifestyle and a vibe. So like I think that's creative. Like that's hard work to like create something that people connect to.
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, I think I'm so lucky, for social media and so many different types of people emerging, because there is language coming about, and I've started calling myself like a community maker and community shaper. And I think there is a lot of creativity involved with that: event production, branding. I don't need to itemize it, but like I am coming to terms with saying that and figuring out my own language for what I am or what I do.
Because I already saw you as a creative. I already saw you as, I already saw you as a creative. I already saw you as someone that people look to and were inspired from. Like that takes work, you know, and maybe the work for you was natural, right? But I don't think that I think that sometimes people can look at like what you've created and it can feel so far, right? They can feel like, well, how can I get something like that? Or how can I build that? So like going even deeply into that, into your creative journey, how did you start like kind of using social media, your branding, your storytelling through like your curation of like what you were presenting out? Like how did that even get
So
going? Yeah.
when I lived in Austin, so like I've always loved to like play with photography. Like I have film cameras, disposable cameras, but always very timid to share. But I've always liked things, whether it be like poetry, reading books, like going to the art, like photography, all of that stuff. But when I lived in Austin some time ago, I think I got like, and younger I did like pageants and stuff, but when I got like casted for a shoot and like I was like, oh, okay, cool. I don't know if I was modeling a lot in Austin because there was like a shortage of black people and people just wanted to fill a gap, but basically I was getting shoots several times a month, and like at this point I had no system for it. Like it was like people just DMing me. I was making up like random rates, $50, 200. Like now when I look back at those rates, I'm like, it's so cringe. But like whatever, I'll do it for trade. And I think that kind of put me on the map in terms of developing an actual proper portfolio, because I was doing it and I was also pulling like big brands. And I think that's when it started. And then I worked for an intersectional feminist nonprofit organization where we put on like also almost, I think like 50 events a year. And I was the project manager for that organization. And I think that helped me get connected with a lot of people. It helped me try a lot of my event stuff, my creative things. It helped me ask questions with people. So I think Austin is like where I really bloomed and I met other creatives. Like I was so um, shocked, like to only have a community of creatives and just to be talking to people about everything. And like, wow, that's how you make money, or maybe I could do that too. So from then, like modeling, I think people started liking the things I had to say on social media, and I didn't ever plan out my social media, and still to this day, I don't use a tool. I don't like edit my photos. All I do is post what I feel like and what I'm thinking. And some these last few weeks, sometimes I post and sometimes I don't. I think what my best friend has told me, who she's an amazing person, was that people like what I say on social media because it feels authentic and it feels consistent. Like, um, and that's just like what I try to do. I just try to do what feels right, which can be hard when so many people are doing so much and you're like, maybe I should be doing more. But I'm just trying to do what feels right. And I think that's like, as a creative, that's like the only, one of the only uh, tenets you can really live by.
Yeah. See, yes, you were very much creative. And what's so cool is like to hear that it organically just came to be, like you working as a project manager worked hand in hand with like what you were doing on your own. And I would agree,
Mm.
your stuff feels very transparent. It's very beautiful. Like you're very beautiful. Like, I just like the images. Like I think some of the images that you like have after like when you were pregnant, it's just so beautiful. It's so sweet and it's so like um artsy and thought out and cool. You're a cool kid. Uh,
Thank
it's really dope. So one thing you said that I wonder if like you would reveal, like you said when I look back at the pricing that I was giving to people, because I struggle with that. Like as someone who's like starting like doing writing projects for people or filming things, I can never really grasp like how much should I be charging these people? So like
you.
do you want to reveal what you think people should be thinking of when they're starting out and they're trying to charge in these brands? Because you don't know. Like what is it going for?
Well, yeah, it's hard because it's like you don't want to undercut yourself and lose out on the job, but you also, like, it depends where you are, like if you want to build your portfolio. And I've had a lot of people ask me, and I don't know. I'm not someone that's governed by money, and I should probably be better because maybe I would have more money. But I think the first thing you should think about is it something that's like aligned to you, whether it's the project or the brand? Because if it's not, which I've had it happen before, you're going to regret the images still living out in the world. And like if you don't do your due diligence on the brand or just like feel good about it, it's all going to also going to show up like whether you're creating content creation or on set. Like I've modeled for brands before and I was like, okay, I don't want to overthink it, this is just work, just do it. But I just was not jazzed, and I could see like it just showed up. I think something else that you should think about is the amount of prep or work you have to do with it. I think a lot of brands are like, tell me your rate, but I'm also like, what all do you want or what all are you envisioning? And let's agree on this so I can tell you like exactly how much this is going to be. And like things leading up to it are also things that you need to charge. If you need to go somewhere to get inspired, if you need to be like mentally or emotionally in a place, if you need to plan things, if you need to send them a deck, all of these things are hours. If you need to buy clothes, do your hair. So just like thinking about that. Um, I also think that if you have the capacity, you should get like a business person or an agent. I feel so much sense of release when my agency handles things for me. And so if you can get on someone's roster, that would be great because it's like now you're not dealing with legal stuff. Now someone is just telling the rate. You're not the middle person. You bring the talent. And sometimes when I go back and forth with negotiating with brands, I one feel defeated by the time we've reached a conclusion. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I then end up judging them because I'm like, you have so much money, just give me this money. Or three, I just feel like I still should have charged more. Like I'm like, I should do that plus even more. So it's so much nice when someone else can just handle it for you. And I think having someone closely read the contracts are really great because I will admit I've been doing this for I don't know how long, longer than 8 years. And even last year, I got into a sticky situation where the brand was just like blasting ads of the thing I made. And it was like thousands and thousands and thousands of people were seeing this media that I made. And I didn't know that was part of it. And people were being like really mean in the comments, but the brand was like refusing to take it down because it was getting good traction. And legally, like I had no say. And it was probably like one of the worst weeks of my life because like I felt so unprotected and I felt so vulnerable. And I felt like, yeah, I signed this document that I didn't read and they can use this forever and ever and ever. We ended up like reaching some type of situation where they took it down, but like since then I like have been so nervous about content creation, but also like looking at every contract with like a
Fine
fine
too.
line. Yeah.
No, understandable. So something that you like touched on there is like how has being a Black woman affected how you've navigated your career? Or like how has it like influenced like just your interactions or even just like how you want to approach the things you're doing?
I get very nervous about being tokenized, but I also get um worried about like certain things not being said. But then I'm also like, am I the person to say it? But then I'm also like, is this all I have to say? So I go down this road of like, uh, what do I have to say, or what is different, or like what do I have to contribute? And I think my goal with this and like thinking about this industry is just like reminding people that like I'm multifaceted, I'm dynamic, I I live within my contradictions. I have many questions. I'm not going to get it right, but at least I'm honest and I'm trying to figure it out. So I think it's, I think it's hard for a Black woman. I'm not only Black, but I'm also curvy. And with modeling, I'm also getting older. So sometimes it's a matter of where do I belong? And I think I'm going to just stop thinking about that and just stop thinking about where do I belong, but like be open to the opportunities that come to me. Like I don't want to think about like what I should fit in because I think for so long in your 20s, I'm like going to be 40 in a couple of years. In your 20s and early 30s, you're just like, where do I fit in? But I'm just like, no, fuck that. Like it's not about where I fit in. The opportunity that's right for me will come along and that's it. Like, and if it's something that I feel proud of or I feel okay with or aligned with, like it's going to be okay.
I love that. How do you take care of your mental health in life and doing these things and everything like that? How do you take care of you?
I
Are
go
you
to therapy.
and are you doing well?
Yeah, I go to therapy. I have like a rhythm. I go to the farmers market 3 times a week.
Oh,
Um, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Like things that make me happy, I try not to negotiate on, which I've had to think about a lot, especially post a D. That's had to change. I've had to cut some things or make room for other things. But yeah, like I go to the farmers market, I read a book, like I go to the library. I try not to negotiate on the things that make me feel good. I also try not to give myself a headache. Like something me and my therapist talk about are like, um, not every decision needs to be emotional. If I don't feel like going to the gym, it's okay. I didn't feel like going to the gym. I'm gonna go again. I can go tomorrow. But don't beat myself up for not like going to the gym. And I think that's so much of like a pain that creatives feel. Like I think decisions become emotional and they become reflect like decisions then reflect sometimes your values or your creative work or impede on your agency. But like I'm really just trying to not make everything emotional, which seems kind of weird and loaded because I'm an emotional person, but I'm trying to like liberate myself by feeling good about the decisions I made.
I'm super emotional, so I can relate to that. I honestly,
I have everything.
I'm so emotional, but it was weird because I don't know if I didn't think or I was in denial that I was emotional, but I was talking to like my therapist and I had an incident that happened and it kind of like shook me. And I think what's hard about being emotional is trying to be not cold, but like not saying that professional is cold, but sometimes people can be quote unquote professional, but they're like taking digs at you. So for me
Mhm.
as an emotional person, it's hard not to feel in what's happening in the situation or what I do or like it's very hard to be emotional. Like it's but I also feel like it's something that really empowers us in the work we do, right? Because we're emotional, we connect deeply.
it's it's like that's a thing, but it's also like yeah, because like for example, like I had a brand email me and I'm like, is this a read? And I'm
Like, are you saying
like,
something about me?
yeah, like okay, maybe it's just for and then I was like, maybe I don't want to work with them. Like, like it's just like, and then I'm just like, you go down this weird like space and sometimes it's warranted and sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe it's a read, I don't want to work with them. Like, and like I just try to like find where I am in my feelings.
It's hard. I like something will happen and it's like 2 days of me just like thinking about it. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
it wears on you.
Mm-hmm. Like I just yeah, sometimes I'll just sit and sit and sit and think about something. And sometimes that's really great because I'll like sit and sit and sit and think about something and I'll be so mad at myself that I haven't figured it out. But then it'll just like come to me and I'm like, oh, it's because I sat with it and I was like stewing in it. And now I feel really good. I've arrived.
I I'm trying to embrace that emotional because like when I admitted to myself that I was emotional, that meant that I'm not like logical all the time. And I don't like that. I want to be logical. That's cool to be logical. Like that makes
Mhm.
every decision based off facts and this, but like being emotional, it's like, yeah, but I hate them. So
Yeah, it's hard.
it's very, it's yeah, it's sucky. But I do think there is like a middle ground. It's just hard to like find it. It just sucks. Okay. On that note, like for you, when it's come to the work you're doing and it's very vulnerable, how have you like created like confidence? Like how did you cultivate like the confidence in your work? Like have you always been confident in what you've done, or like how did it grow where you're like, I'm secure in knowing I do this well and this is me?
Um, I don't know. Like I was just like talking to someone about this that like there's like a few other like, mom content creators that are just like blowing up and they came around like after me, but like so many campaigns, so much money, living the life that like I was like, why don't I have it? And I think comparison is like the devil, but sometimes when I compare, I feel like I don't have the confidence I want. But when I'm just by myself or in my head or talking to the people that I'm talking to or creating what I want, I think I am confident because I'm just doing me. Like, I'm just doing me. Like, I'm just doing what I know. And I think when you do what you know, like, how can you not feel good? Um, I'm also open to stepping out of my comfort zone and challenging myself, which can be scary, but I think it can be rewarding. So I think the confidence ebbs and flows. I know I'm a good mom. I know that I create amazing things for other people. I know that I'm honest and I know I'm genuine. So I don't really feel like I have any nervousness or a lack of confidence because like I always lead with like what I know. But sometimes I feel like maybe I'm not doing it right because these people have more than me. And I think that's not a correct or okay thing to think.
What has kept you going when like the next step hasn't been clear on like what to do next or where to go?
I think I'm persistent and like I feel like that's been my life for the past 6 years, even before a D, because like I was in a doctoral journey and like moving around and like I transferred schools and I was pregnant. It's just, I think I mentioned like just building tolerance for uncertainty. And now I'm really good at that, just to be in the uncertainty. So I don't like force like getting somewhere because that has not served me the last few years. What I do is just like I tell myself everything is temporary and like my doula told me that when I was pregnant. She's like, when you're giving birth, just tell yourself it's temporary. And that's been my like thinking, like it's all temporary, And I tell myself that with every part of the creative process. Like when I'm launching the next like retreat for Mamas Who Dream and I have all these technical glitches, I'm like, ooh, the to-do list keeps going, but it's gonna happen. Like it's all temporary. Or when I'm like invoicing everybody every month, which I'm like, this is just gonna be over soon. So I think I have to tell myself like this is just like a tiny blip and like I know I'm building and working on something that is good.
What would you say is something that creatives can learn from you?
Uh, uh um yeah, I think it depends on the type of creative, but I think creatives should not sleep on what it means to cultivate in person connections and communities with whatever their skill is. I think so many communities and people are craving people who think like them and move like them off the digital spaces and scenes. So, however you make your work dance or live, just thinking about how it can translate to like human connection and curiosity and always like accessibility.
Ooh, I love that. Okay. How would you define success in your life?
That's a good question, and I feel so like weird about that word. But I think it is like knowing
Word? What was the
hmm,
word? What's the word that you feel weird about?
success, because I think a lot of people would maybe say I'm successful. Like I actually like was thinking about posting last night um an image of like some of my successes or wins, and the caption was going to be like um sometimes doesn't it feel good to say hey to your haters or something like that. uh, because I'm like I have a beautiful family, like I finished my degree, you know, I feel like I have a great community and friendships. I'm so happy, like, and I feel like I'm finally in a place where I can be mentally present for people, like checking in all the time. And I feel like I live a very balanced but perfectly complicated life. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if I'm successful. Like, I'm like, I still don't have like a full-time job, but that's also because I don't know if I want it. Like, I would love to be more financially smarter. Like, I don't know. So I don't know. Like,
What does it look like? Here's the better question. It's like, I didn't ask that like in a sense of like, how would you define your success?
I know, but I'm just like,
What does it even look like? Do you know, or is that something that you're like, I don't know what success for me looks like?
I know what it feels like to accomplish things and to finish things. I don't know what like a consistent feeling of success feels like, because I don't know if I'm able to define it or if because I have trouble seeing it in myself.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's a complicated question. I wrote it, I actually thought of it today. I don't know why I thought of it today, but I think because I struggle with like being present in the now, or like seeing the things in the now that are good. And so it's like, well, what does success even mean to you, Donna? Is it like, is success to you like money, or success to you health, happiness? Like, what does a successful life look like? And I think sometimes, as I will speak to me, I think not all creators are like this. I know me as a creative, I do struggle with the looking at what other people have and being like, well, if I don't have that, then I'm not successful. But it's like, well, what does it mean? What does it mean in your own life to be satisfied or to be content
Mm-hmm.
with what you're doing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a hard question. That's why I asked you.
I think it's a hard question, and I think like I like love people who like know what their like baseline for joy and success are. Like I'm always so inspired by it, and sometimes I think I've got it or I'm there, but then I feel something else, and I'm like, oh, like I don't know. It's hard to sit with your feelings and to feel sure about things all the time. So yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, what do you want people to leave with when they encounter your posts, encounter your retreats? Like, what is it that you're trying to leave people with?
I think like the most beautiful world that can like exist is like a place where there is a world or space for everyone. And I think I'm just trying to create the spaces and discussions for people who have similar identities as me. And um, I think, regardless of what you have to contribute, we all are able to start dynamic conversations or human connections or think about um, opportunities to engage with others in order to create mm, a more nuanced and brilliant way of life in communities and relationships. And all I'm trying to do is add some complexities and beauty and programming for brown women, brown curvy women, brown mamas, and brown children. And that's like my zone or space of genius.
You're creating a home.
Trying my best.
Yeah, you're doing it. It's good. Okay. So I took this question off, but I want to ask you because I actually think what your mission is speaks to it. What do you think it means to be seen?
I think first what it means to be seen in like a very really taken back way. I don't know if this is gonna answer it, is to have enough self-love where like you don't need to be seen. So
Ooh.
like starting there. But then also I think being seen is like knowing so much of like who you are and feeling strong and confident in it that like if you feel like you are not being seen, you have the courage and the emotional and mental capacity to say something or the community a community to lean on. And I think it also means that it doesn't depend on you, that spaces are informed and equipped enough to like invite everything you are in.
Where can people follow you and find you?
I'm on Instagram at Willie the Wayfair. I still don't have a TikTok against everyone's ideas. That's just a scary space. I've never even had it on my phone. It just is overwhelming. And on my website, maureennickel.com, I only have one form of social media, and that's Instagram. And it will probably stay that way forever and ever.
Amen.
Yeah, thank you.
That's it. Okay, girl, that's it.